Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Angela, and for my interview presentation, the topic I chose focuses on peer relationships in middle childhood. For my presentation, I interviewed my friend's little brother, whose name is Nicholas. He is 10 years old and he's currently in the 5th grade. So, starting off with my interview, I asked him some basic questions like what is a friend to him? His answer was that a friend is someone who is nice and talks to him a lot, and a friend is someone he can play and hang out with. Um, I then asked him how many friends he had and whether or not they were in the same grade as him. He said that he had a lot of friends and that they were all in the same classroom as him, but he only had a few in his class he would consider to be his best friends. I also asked whether his friends were mainly boys or he had friends who were girls as well, and he said that mainly his friends were mainly boys, and he thinks that hanging out with girls is something that's really weird to him. Another question I asked was what he liked to do with his friends, and he said he liked playing sports such as soccer, tetherball, and handball during recess and lunch. He liked to play something called parkour, which involves a lot of stunts such as jumping and climbing off of stuff. And he also likes to play video games with his friends such as Minecraft and Roblox when he's outside of school. So, for my next question, I was really interested to see whether kids his age use cell phones to interact with each other because I remember back when I was in 5th grade, I had classmates who already had their own phones and they would text and call each other after school. So when I asked him about this, he said he did have his own phone, but he was only allowed to use it for emergencies. He said his friends also had their own phones, but they would mainly use their computers at home or the Xbox or PlayStations to play video games with each other when they were not hanging out at school. I then asked him about social cliques at his school, which he didn't understand at first, but then I used Mean Girls as an example, which he's already seen before, so he started understanding what social cliques meant. So when I asked him this, he said he never really saw such things such as social cliques at his school. Sometimes there were different classmates who would hang out with each other in one group, but ultimately everyone was friends with each other. I then asked him if he was able to distinguish between the popular kids versus the loners at school. And he said that the popular kids would be the ones who would hang out in the big friend group, who would kind of go to different people and had big personalities. Whereas the loners were probably the students who kept the most to themselves during class and were really shy. Finally, I asked him what he thought about bullying. So I asked him if he knew what bullying meant, and he said it was when someone is being mean to you by picking on you or making fun of you. And then I asked him if he ever saw someone get bullied at school or if he ever personally experienced being bullied. And he said no. He said that if anything, they would be just joking around with each other, but the situation would never escalate to the point where it started getting serious. And then we talked about what his school was doing about bullying, and he said that they would normally have assemblies in the multi-purpose room that taught them to respect others and to not bully each other. So the good thing about this is that he already knows that students who bully each other will deal with severe consequences, such as getting in trouble by the teacher and getting sent to the principal's office. He also knows that when you're caught bullying, then they're going to call your parents and you're going to get in a lot of trouble. So his school has definitely taught him that bullying is something that's very unacceptable and it can lead to negative outcomes if you're caught doing it. So, going back to some of the responses he's made during the interview, I noticed that it related to some concepts that are gone over in the chapter. So, for instance, one concept that I noticed during the interview was gender segregation, which is defined as the tendency of children to play and be friends with children of the same gender. And for gender segregation, it gets stronger during middle childhood, especially for boys. So, going back to his answer, he mentioned that his friends were mainly boys and that hanging out with girls is something he thought was really strange. So I think this is due to the fact that he engages in a lot of physical activities such as sports, which is something I feel like most boys would enjoy doing. Um, Another concept I noticed was social status. So for my conversation with him, I tried to make the social status as simple as possible by just talking about popular kids versus loner kids. But in reality, there's a lot more for the different types of social status. So For instance, popular children are children who are high in peer acceptance and low in peer rejection. Children who are low in peer acceptance but high in peer rejection are thought to be rejected children. Children who are low in peer acceptance and peer rejection are neglected children. Children who are high in peer acceptance and also high in peer rejection are thought to be controversial children. And for average children, they are neither high nor low for peer acceptance and peer rejection. And finally, the chapter stresses the importance of outdoor activities such as recess and lunch during middle childhood because it helps children develop interpersonal relationships with their peers. So when they're hanging out with their friends at school, they get to use their imagination, they get to have fun with each other, and it helps shape their friendship and allows them to get closer as peers. So overall, peer relationships is something that is extremely important during childhood because it can help them with their social interaction skills, and it can be beneficial for them as children when they enter into adolescence. So that is it for my presentation. Thank you very much.